Oke, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi. Kali ini bermain truk ya, truk yang nerusin kemarin ya. Mesin kemarin kita game santai aja dulu, ya. Oke, let's go.
Okay, here we go.
Babi.
Keep right.
I'm pleased that the message is now getting out there, but I don't necessarily believe those who think mobile phones are bad are not going to suddenly change their minds overnight.
Well, thank you very much. Will Guyat's joining us there, and more calls and messages coming up in a moment on LBC.
Coming up at 4 on LBC, Ollie Dugmore. Campaigners calling for taxes. Sugar and salt and cigarette-style warnings on food packaging. I think they're getting it wrong when it comes to our food system. Ollie Dugmore on LBC.
Buy our electric car, they say. 1,000-mile range, they say. The seats give massages, they say.
How much?
They say, well, they 100% electric is the UK's most affordable new electric car. So what do you say? Visit a Dacia retailer to find out more. Based on manufacturer's recommended retail prices for March 3rd. For verification, visit dacia.co.uk/gamechanger.
For whoever they want to be in life, give them a great start with Well Kid. Carefully balanced, great-tasting vitamins and minerals for 4 to 12-year-olds with specific nutrients such as zinc and vitamin D, which support normal immune system function. The Well Kid range from Vitabiotics, from Boots, pharmacies and vitabiotics.com.
I never liked her anyway.
He's clearly a narcissist.
Well, she stopped. She's seeing the kids.
He negotiates for a living. Lawyer up and protect yourself.
We get it. You mean well. But when someone you love gets divorced, saying these things doesn't result in good. That's where we come in. Amicable is a legal service that makes divorce kinder and simpler. No demonizing, no aggression. Just better outcomes for everyone. Amicable.co.uk. Divorce made kinder.
Book now for summer 2025 with EasyJet Holidays. With up to £200 off package holidays, you can save on our already unbeatable prices. Search EasyJet Holidays or see your local travel agent. Selected dates up to the 31st of the 10th, 25. Book by 11 p.m. the 16th of the 9th, 24. See price guarantee online. Minimum spend. Adult protected. T's and C's apply.
This is LBC, leading Britain's conversation with Clive Bull.
Good morning, it's LBC. I'm Clive Bull with you through till 4. And Richard's in St Helens. Hello, Richard.
Hi, a couple of classic comedies for you that still stand the test of time.
Excellent.
Whatever Happened to the Mighty Lad?
Oh, yes.
James Bolden and
Rodney Hughes.
Rodney Hughes is Bob and Terry with Bob optically mobile, sort of pro-choice Thatcherite.
Yes, yes,
And
that's
Terry
right.
determined to stay true to his working class origins.
Yes.
And usually it develops characters well.
Yeah.
Over the 13 weeks of the series. Followed, of course, to the Likey Lads themselves in the 60s, which are two working class lads in Newcastle. Well, it's some time. The characters
Keep
are
left,
very good.
and then continue straight on.
Right, it's both orange.
Yeah.
And they're actually from California, apparently.
Go straight on.
Swimming pool where they both were living, but it's about Norby.
It was brilliant. Yeah, brilliantly written.
Midland Towers.
And still, as you say, you could watch that now and it would still work as a drama as well.
They do show it still on Gold, I think.
Okay.
Channel.
Yeah, I'd like to
And
watch
the other one without the studio audience, by Bernardo was Brass, which was a Mickey take of the It's Criminal North.
Yes.
With,
Yeah.
with Timothy West and Bradley Hardacre and the lecturers owner of the mines and so on, and having affairs with the underclasses.
Yeah.
And it's a pastiche of Brideshead Revisited, North characters
Yo.
taken from
Emang bisa mabar?
dramas and novels, sort of encapsulated in one small village. It's just very, very good.
Absolutely.
That
Yeah.
you can find on YouTube, some of it.
Yeah. Excellent.
Emang bisa mabar,
Good
bro?
shout, Richard. A couple of really good ones there.
Bro,
Thank you very much
Rivaldo,
for that. We'll squeeze in
Romay.
a few more messages as well. Before we go, Matt in High Wycombe says, I don't think you'll ever beat Porridge, Rising Damp, Open All Hours. However, I do think The Office is a modern classic. And of course, the American Office, which is technically probably a bigger hit. Mart says, I loved My Family with Robert Lindsay and Zoe Warwick. Martin Somerset. Johnny West London says,
Bang.
Porridge was great
Oh.
because it wasn't all about the brilliant Ronnie Barker. The writers gave great
Go straight
roles to
on.
all the characters in the episodes, even the
Emang
menacing
abang baru main
G.
ITS ya?
Harry Grant,
Baru, bro.
played by the late great Peter Hall. Yeah, absolutely.
Makanya ngecil aja.
D says birds.
Sebenarnya mas emang main Dota, bro.
And are you
Keep
being
left,
served?
and then
These are
continue
Emang lagi bosen Dota aja,
there are not
dimain
many
ini
modern
deh.
comedies that make me laugh. On the
Go
other hand,
straight on.
Andrew
Jadi main
says
ATS.
Toast of London is a wonderful comedy series in recent times, starring Matt Berry.
Lagi
it is
bosen
actually
Dota
arguably,
aja.
I think partly because I can relate to the radio studio, voiceover studio scenes. He's a voiceover artist, and he sort of parodies that in a very amusing way. Matt Berry's great, and Toast of London is excellent. Rose from Bedford says the thin blue line was great. Hello, hello, ever decreasing circles was excellent. And Heidi High. Steve points out Don Washington was one of the
Jadi
first
main
rising Dan.
ETS-nya cuma buat refreshing aja dari Dota gitu.
Absolutely marvelous. So a long career.
Jadi main chill tracking saja.
Only Fools and Horses teachers, Motherland, Father Ted and Fawlty Towers. That's quite a selection from all the eras really as well. And Sam recommends The Royal Family. It was a great comedy from the 90s and early 90s, which is very true. And a few people mentioning Father Ted, which should get a mention. Rachel in Gloucester says, thank goodness for LBC. Keeping me company through the night. I can't sleep either.
Rivaldo, makasih udah berkunjung channel ini ya bro ya. Jangan lupa bantu subscribe.
Jason, yes, Minister. What about the thick of it? That is more current. Well, that's true. Yeah, that's maybe the more modern equivalent of your political satire, I guess. Jason, thank you very much for that. Right, I think we've got time for one more call, and it's let me see, Gil in Newport. Morning, Gil.
Good morning, Clive. Pictures on the radio. I'm often told my with Len Rossiter.
Right, well that's created a mental image.
Yes, this week the people now said
Yes.
this policy will not more as per the countrywide outbreaks as a result. No. The government aren't fools who avoided rational thinking. I believe they knew exactly what the consequence would be. There is a belief, I think, that the retirees did quite well what the years conservative rule, whilst the youngsters like
Orang Bandung bro Rivaldo.
So indeed, the fact it is,
Ada atuhna segala.
often occurs at turning the tables in very broad terms, favoring the young over the old. But you younger ones, don't think for 1 minute you're getting any harder time of it now
Ada lagi
than us
hujan ya.
came before. We were the age then you are now, mid-60s. A foot on the housing ladder, forget it. Not even on the radar in those days. We had nothing by comparison. A clone, a motorcycle that I had was some achievement. Car ownership then was akin to a mortgage in those days. So it was very, very different and really no different. In fact, in monetary terms, being young then and being young now, I believe.
Right. Favorite comedy?
Kenapa Dira? Kenapa?
Classic comedy.
Yeah. What makes you laugh, Gil?
It was so clever, outguarded, you know.
That's too much.
Nothing to put Len White was from through.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Now, if you missed any of today's show, and what show it was, you can listen back on Catch Up on Global Player, the official LBC app, where you can also pause and rewind live radio. Download it for free from your app store or head to globalplayer.com. Coming up at 7 on LBC Weekend Breakfast with Matthew Wright. Right now, though, it's Ollie Dutmore.
Cheers, Clive. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to be talking about food systems and food production. We're going to go a little bit deep with it, and the reason for that is because campaigners are calling for the introduction of new taxes on certain food products, be that because of their salt content or their sugar content, and this is probably the headline grabbing part of it, the introduction of cigarette packaging style warnings on food packaging. So your pizza or your burger is going to tell you that you're going to die, which is a nice cheery topic to do at 4 a.m. this morning. But I think this overlooks what's really at the heart of the issue, which are quite deep, quite systemic problems with the way we produce food and the food that we eat. Stay with me after the news.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 4 o'clock, the Department for Work and Pensions says it's received more than 38,000 claims for pension credit since the government's winter fuel announcement. It's after the Chancellor Rachel Reeves says they'll be limited to retirees on means-tested benefits. This morning, the SNP is claiming more than 850,000 Scottish pensioners will lose out. The Prime Minister's travelling to Dublin later for his first official visit to the Republic of Ireland since the general election. Keir Starmer's due to meet the country's Taoiseach, Simon Harris, while it's also been announced he'll meet President Biden in Washington on Friday. But correspondent at The Hill, Julia Manchester, has been telling LBC the visit will mean more in the UK.
You know, I don't think Americans are really as checked in. I think as things calm down, as Keir Starmer becomes more of a presence, and you know, with this visit, he certainly that will help cement his presence, maybe in the American psyche. That will definitely help that, but he's still very much considered a new figure.
The former Republican Vice President Dick Cheney says he'll vote for Kamala Harris in November. He's issued a statement saying Donald Trump can never be trusted with power again. Police in South Wales say part of the area has been hit by severe flooding after torrential downpours. Roads have been covered by water in parts of Port Talbot. People are being urged not to travel unless they have to. Drivers and rail passengers are being warned to expect disruption because of the closure of one of the UK's main motorways. A section of the M62 has been shut until Monday morning for work to remove the Castleton Bridge outside Rochdale. LBC's travel reporter Dave Goff says it's bound to cause problems.
So if you're going eastbound, it's closed from junction 18 at Sinister Island to junction 20 for Rochdale. The westbound M62 closed from junction 20 at Rochdale to junction 19 for Hayward. The diversion you've got to go on the M60, which is the road going around Greater Manchester, and the A627 as well, so all weekend.
And England's interim manager says he won't sing God Save the King before his side takes on the Republic of Ireland later. Lee Carsley was born in Birmingham but represented Ireland during his playing career. He's told a news conference he would never sing the Irish national anthem then, and the same will apply while he's coaching. LBC weather wet for southwestern parts of the UK later on today, but mainly dry for the rest of the country with sunny spells, particularly in the northwest. We'll see a high of 24 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Tim Daly.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Ollie Dugmore.
Cheers, Tim. Morning. How are you, beautiful people who are listening to LBC with me, Ollie Dugmore, with you until 7 a.m. Between now and then, at 6, we are going to cover the New England manager saying he won't sing the national anthem. From 5 will be the rise in school absences and whether or not it should give us pause for thought in how we approach educating children. What are we getting wrong in education? But now, at 3 minutes past 4, we're going to talk about food. We're going to talk about death. We're going to talk about taxes. Death and taxes, ladies and gentlemen, the only certainty under a Keir Starmer government. In this case, sugar and salt taxes and potential cigarette-style warnings on food packaging. Eating burgers kills, etc. That's what campaigners are calling for. Do you support these types of measures? Or are they just a drop in the ocean? 03456060973 is the number to call. WhatsApp is the same. You can text 84850 and ask Alexa to send a comment to LBC. That sort of... I don't think we're going to go the whole hog and put that sort of horrible brown-green packaging on pizzas and stuff like that. Don't put it past us. I guess that's an idea they might come up with. But certainly those smoking kills, smoking will give you cancer, those type messages on processed foods. Will it stop you buying it? The Guardian reports hard-hitting warning labels should be put on everyday foodstuffs. New taxes imposed on salty products and junk food sponsorship of sport banned to cut rising deaths from heart disease, health campaigners have said. These bold measures should be imposed as part of a determined drive to reduce the number of people dying prematurely from heart attacks and strokes, they said. The British Heart Foundation, BHF, is also proposing other actions to tackle the UK's increasingly bad diet, including bans on junk food firms advertising on billboards or radio. The charity is urging the government to force the food industry to start making its products more nutritious by stripping out what are often high but hidden levels of salt and sugar which are damaging to health. Taking such radical steps could cut the death toll from heart disease of people in England before they reach the age of 75 and save as many as 11,000 lives a year by 2035, the BHF estimates. Cardiac fatalities have risen since 2019-2022 after falling for 60 years before that. Overall, 39,000 people in England died before their 75th birthday in 2022. It's the highest number since 2008. The charity's plea follows Keir Starmer's statement last week that his administration is willing to take tough action to tackle deeply ingrained public health problems that cause disease, disability, and death, such as potentially banning smoking in some outdoor places. The BHF is asking ministers to compel food producers to put start warnings on cans, bottles, and tins of their products in order to alert people to the health risks. Those labels would have to be mandatory, because simply asking profit-driven food companies to voluntarily reformulate their portfolio to make it healthier, which is the approach taken by the Conservative governments between 2010 and this July, does not work, the charity added. Its proposed ban on firms whose products are deemed unhealthy, sponsoring sports events with bar energy drinks, Carabao, attaching its name to English football's League Cup, McDonald's from sponsoring the Football Association's Youth Football Development Programme, and KP Snacks from being an official team partner of the 100 cricket competition, for example. And, to coin a phrase,
Keep left.
this strikes me as an example of sticking plaster politics. Can I just say as well, I don't know why he says sticking plaster politics. I've never called it a sticking plaster. I've only ever called it a plaster. Sometimes, if I'm feeling slightly Americanised, I will call it a Band-Aid. But I have never heard anyone say sticking plaster. Just Keir Starmer. Anyway, you are not going to address the many and systemic problems in our food chain by putting a tax on sugar or a diabetes kills sticker on a frozen pizza. I mean, can you imagine it, right? Picture the scene. Oh, right, let's have a movie night. You know, the cinema is so expensive these days. Let's do something fun for the kids, right? Let's just have a family night in. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
We could get some popcorn and some pizzas, watch something
Bisa
on
dulu.
Netflix all together, maybe. Yeah, brilliant. We can put the pizzas in with the kids and pretend to be, I don't know, we can pretend to be pizzaiolos. Sprinkle on some basil, bit of olive oil. And then come the big family night in. Imagine the scene. The said scene unfolds. You pull the pizza from the Tesco bag with little Timmy wearing his apron, and a big brownish-green sticker informs little Timmy that, in fact, too much pepperoni will indeed kill him. It's not great. It's not a great Friday night in with the kids, is it? Sounds fun, doesn't it? Look, I think food production and the politics of the land connect to so many of the ills in our society. The chronic illness, the obesity, how the confidence trick of kind of untrammeled growth has been demonstrated to be hollow, and that without it, quality of life gets lower and lower. I mean, look across societies around the world, right, with exceptional longevity and happiness. Here are some commonalities for you. Gardening, genuinely. Growing your own food, because of the exercise involved, but also the quality of the produce, and eating that produce, I should say, the organic nature of it. And without getting too lost in the weeds, there are some extraordinary statistics that I'd like to share with you. It's a quote from an academic submission to a journal. The piece is called "An Alarming Decline in the Nutritional Quality of Foods, the Biggest Challenge for Future Generations' Health." Globally, more than 2 billion people are suffering from micronutrient insufficiency, especially iodine, iron, folate, vitamin A and zinc. It is the main cause of premature deaths, morbidity and slowing in the physical and mental growth of children. In 2017, 11 million deaths and 255 million daily adjusted life years could be attributed to malnutrition. Since the 1940s, crop yield and the per capita availability of foods have been continuously increasing due to intensive farming techniques, artificial fertilization, pesticides, irrigation, growing high-yielding varieties and other environmental means, whereas malnutrition tends to increase incessantly due to disrupting the fine balance of soil life and decreasing the nutritional density and quality of the food crops. At present, people are overfed but undernourished due to consuming nutrient-poor diets. It is quite difficult to obtain an equal concentration of nutrition from the food that was enjoyed before the pre-green revolution era. Important commercial high-yielding fruits such as apples, oranges, mango, guava, banana and vegetables such as tomato and potato have lost their nutritional density, here's the kicker, by up to 50% or more during the last 50 to 70 years due to environmental, genetic and field soil dilution factors. Did you hear that? The food we grow has up to 50% less nutrients than it used to. So as an immediate starting point, right, your tomato has half as much vitamin C or whatever left in it, whatever small part of that tomato survives and gets into your processed ready meal. But it goes much, much deeper than that for me. I mean, when thinking about, I don't know, climate change and the future of energy production and localism and biodiversity, the food system is right at the centre, right at the heart of it. You know, why do we need to fly bananas from the Canary Islands or tomatoes from Spain or Italy to the UK? You know, those are slightly tricky examples, actually, because at present you can't grow them all year round here. But necessity is not a reason to import, right? Let's say a potato. You can grow them here until the cows come home. Let alone the kind of industrialised system of agriculture that we have. It doesn't help. It contributes to global warming, doesn't it? Because of the economies of scale that we have, they kind of lead us to mass agriculture and monoculture. I believe in a smaller scale, more local, more job-rich, low energy, mixed farming as a way forward. And actually, most parts of the world, right, have traditions of kind of low energy, input cycling, mixed farming that tends to combine elements of some livestock husbandry, woodland, cropping, so that people are living less energy intensive, more local lives, where they're actually producing more of the produce that fits their material needs, and they do it on a local level. And I think whether we like it or not, those big driving forces in the world today, so climate change, energy consumption, and a lot of geopolitics and economics as well, they are going to make the kind of high-energy, globalised world and the globalised food systems that we've become so accustomed to increasingly problematic. I mean, one simple example, increased frequency of pandemics as a result of climate change. It's inevitable, particularly as we see a melting of the permafrost within the Arctic Circle, unlocking all sorts of bacteria that otherwise has been laying dormant for millions of years. Just look at what COVID did to supply chains. So that's a simple example we can all appreciate of how, you know, a once-in-a-generation black swan event can, something that was previously inconceivable, can just utterly lay waste to things that we thought were infallible. So I think people need to re-embrace kind of localism and the possibilities of producing food locally. I mean, it's a huge and difficult transition from where we are now, it has to be said. Anything that we do next is going to be huge and difficult because of the scale of climate change. And to some extent, I guess it's based on the observation that modern food and farming and the systems around it are kind of enormously inefficient in their overproduction. I mean, every part of the world is driven to produce what it can most advantageously to then sell into the global markets. You know, the driver is the profit margin, whereas if we're looking at sort of local food production, it's a very different kind of driver. It's about meeting local need, isn't it? And that can be much more diverse, much healthier, much more economically beneficial. And it's from these thoughts that my interests in land and the politics of land ownership stem, and why enclosure and the destruction of the commons is one of the greatest crimes in this nation's history, in my opinion. A lot of research has, unsurprisingly, gone into this, and Chris Smage's book, Small Farm Future, is probably one of the most important. Elsewhere, here's a study that I found researching this hour of the programme that looked at the economic benefits of reorganising our food system and indeed our entire society. It was reported in The Guardian. Wait until you hear the financial number in this report, right, how much we could save.
A shift towards a more sustainable global food system could create up to $10 trillion of benefits a year. 10 trillion. Improve human health and ease the climate crisis. That's according to the most comprehensive economic study of its type. It found that existing food systems destroyed more value than they created due to hidden environmental and medical costs, in effect borrowing from the future to take profits today. Food systems drive a third of global greenhouse gas emissions, putting the world on course for 2.7 centigrade degrees of warming by the end of the century. This creates a vicious cycle as higher temperatures bring more extreme weather and greater damage to harvests. Food insecurity also puts a burden on medical systems. The study predicted a business-as-usual approach would leave 640 million people underweight by 2050, while obesity would increase by 70%. I mean, clearly something's going wrong, right? If we're having people at either end of the kind of nutritional scale increasing in number. Redirecting the food system would be politically challenging but bring huge economic and welfare benefits, said the international team of authors behind the study, which aims to be the food equivalent of the Stern Review, the 2006 examination of the costs of climate change. Johan Rockstrom of the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research and one of the study's authors said, "The global food system holds the future of humanity on Earth in its hand." So what do you reckon? Shall we tell little Timmy that his pizza's going to kill him? Or should we actually get serious about food production? Sugar and salt tax. Sticking plaster politics, isn't it? 0345 6060 973. And would a cigarette-style warning on food packaging dissuade you from buying it? Or do you think we have to figure out a different way? A different way of increasing the quality of our food, a different way of improving our quality of life, a different way of giving people meaning. 0345 6060 973. Call me, you will get through. WhatsApp the same number. Text 84850 or ask Alex to send a comment to LBC. The time now is 4:70.
This is LBC.
Buy parts of a new wind farm and generate your own low-cost greener energy with Ripple. Joining Ripple could cut your energy bills every year for decades. Without the hassle of getting solar panels installed onto your home or business. Your own energy to wherever you live. Even if you move home. That's real climate action to be proud of. Join now to be part of our next wind farm. Welcome to Ripple. Ripple Energy.
If you've been injured in an accident at work, you could be entitled to thousands of pounds in compensation. Talk to Harris Fowler today. For over 25 years, we've helped people who've been injured at work, in a warehouse, a factory, on site, or anywhere. With a 94% success rate, call the award-winning Harris Fowler now. 0800 213 214. It's no win, no fee, no risk. Harris Fowler, the personal injury solicitor.
Flying from Luton Airport. The Luton Airport Express takes you from London St Pancras to the terminal in as little as 32 minutes. From just £10. So let's go. Let's go for adventures with friends, sun and sea with the family, or a city escape somewhere romantic. There's no traffic and no stress. So pack your bags and let's go on the Luton Airport Express. Buy your tickets now at lutonairportexpress.co.uk.
This is LBC with Ollie Dugmore. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
You're listening to LBC with me, Ollie Dugmore. The time is 19 minutes past 4, and we're having a conversation about food, what we eat, whether it's good for us, what it means, and because it does, what it means might sound like quite an abstract philosophical question to ask in the context of this subject, but it really does go that deep, because I think as well, you know, a society increasingly defined by lives lived without meaning, where people feel unfulfilled and unsatisfied by what they do at work, a politics and an organisation of society which leads people back to the land, to something as fulfilling as growing your own food, raising your own livestock and using it to feed your family. Well, I think there's a lot of meaning to be derived from that. I know, I certainly get it, and I'm not by any means a sort of large-scale farmer or anything like that, but I love it when my tomatoes turn out okay, when I get a courgette or two, and I'm able to use it to put food on the table. Not only does it taste a million times better, but it's better for you, and it's so rewarding. It doesn't cost anywhere near as much
Keep
as well.
left and then turn left.
Would cigarette-style warnings on food packaging dissuade you from buying unhealthy items? Do you think we should
Turn
tax
left.
sugar and salt? 0345 6060 973 is the number to call. You can WhatsApp us on the same number. You can text 84850 or ask Alexa to send a comment to LBC. Andy's WhatsApped in. He says, Ollie, I totally agree with the government when it comes to raising awareness of bad food. However, labelling food in the same way as cigarettes is likely to be counterproductive. Wes Streeting, one of his many outings on LBC, stated that he would ban junk food advertising whilst having a McDonald's ad pop up during his show. Treat junk food advertising in the same way as it is with cigarette advertising and sponsorship. If Streeting is serious about his views as Secretary of State for Health, then this will be a foregone conclusion. I'm baiting my breath in anticipation of Andy Plymouth. I don't know where I sit on this, if I'm honest. I'm open to being persuaded by any of you. 0345 6060 973. I'm open to being persuaded because I'm not sure about the banning of advertising. You know, I feel with cigarettes, it's a lot more
Keep
obvious.
left.
Like, there's a much stronger argument. Right? Tobacco kills. Tobacco kills. It's much more route one, I think, than eating an occasional burger. There's no nutritional benefit to be derived from smoking a Marlboro Gold. I understand why we don't allow advertising. I'm opposed to a ban on it, by the way. I'm opposed to this kind of rolling age limit on cigarette consumption and use. I think you should still be able to do it. I think it's deeply dangerous, but I don't think we should ban people from doing it. I support the taxation of it as well. I think it makes sense if something costs the health service a great deal, that you impose a tax on it so that you can help fund the inevitable outlay in healthcare expenditure. That makes sense to me. That adds up. I understand it. And so I think there's probably more of an argument for taxing sugary foods, salty foods. I understand that, but it just doesn't feel like it addresses the root causes of the problem. The sort of the nutrient dilution of agriculture. The way that, because we have mass agriculture, we mass produce huge fields of wheat or otherwise, what that leads to. And not having a kind of regenerative approach to farming whereby there's crop rotation, whereby livestock graze the land and those things are combined, and instead you end up with having to use artificial fertilizers and pesticides, and that has a downside on the quality of the food that we produce. What do you reckon? Would increasing taxes on sugary and salty foods, would it stop you from buying? Would a cigarette-style warning on the packaging dissuade you? I'm not sure it would. Eating burgers kills. Or whatever. 0345 6060 973. And on this point about sort of the nutritional quality of food, there's an experiment conducted by BBC Panorama for about 2 weeks where two 24-year-old twin girls ate two opposite diets, right? With one solely eating ultra-processed food and the other eating an unprocessed diet. Here's how they reported what they felt during the experiment.
For breakfast this morning I had a quinoa porridge with berries on top, and it's done a really good job at keeping me energised and full.
So it's the end of the day now, and I've got a bit of a headache, to be honest. So yeah, end of the day, still hungry, feeling a bit sort of rubbish, and yeah, a bit of a headache.
At the end of the experiment, they went over the results with Professor Tim Spector.
Amy, you were on the ultra-processed food diet. Your results were really quite different to your sisters. They were far worse. Your blood fat levels actually went up. Your lipids, which are markers of heart disease, they increased. Blood sugar was noticeably worse. You actually gained weight, nearly a kilogram, and you actually lost weight.
It's a bit scary, isn't it, after only 2 weeks to see those sorts of results?
So just imagine what that would be over 20 years. We already have the most obese children in Europe. That means more type 2 diabetes, more cancer. cancers, more heart disease, more misery, more mental illness. This really is a future time bomb.
A future time bomb, Tom Spector described it as. That point about mental health is a really interesting one, and the increasing research demonstrating the connection between the gut microbiome and mental health. And people now increasingly describing the stomach as a second brain. What you eat and kind of how it informs the bacterial culture that exists in your stomach, the influence it has on your emotional state. And I think that could be a reason. Researchers think pretty sketchy, but certainly could be a reason for the increasing mental health crises in our schools, which we are going to talk about in the next hour at 5. We're going to talk about increasing school absences. A couple more of your text messages here. Kyle on WhatsApp. For God's sake, we get old, we die. It's inevitable. Let us eat what we want, drink and smoke, brackets vaping for me, as much as we want. Also, it's a 3-word slogan. Sticking plaster politics, like Brexit done. I think Kyle hits on an interesting point with that message. For God's sake, we get old, we die. Now, I appreciate he's actually kind of written it a little bit like a haiku, which I like in the construction of the text message. But this is, I think it provokes a really interesting question about quality versus quantity of life. Do we need to live for more than 80 years? Should we want to live for more than 80 years? I'm not sure. I think I'd rather live a shorter, happier life than a longer, less happy one, particularly one that was fed and supported by a low quality diet. I think increasingly in our society we've become disconnected from death, right? Because the advances we've had in modern medicine have allowed us to avoid the nastier side of things. How common it was. Basically all of human history until, let's say, the last 100 years, probably the last 50 years, to see a dead body, to be with someone when they die. And as medicine's developed and as care has developed and people now are often in hospice when they die, we've become disconnected from it, haven't we? From that side of things. And I think there are more far-reaching consequences to that. I think it puts us in a place where we prioritise safety and existence at all costs. And we don't think about quality of life. We don't think about how enjoyable it is to sink a couple of beers with a pal. No one's under any illusion that drinking that alcohol is good for your body. It's a poison, right? It's a depressant. We all know that. We all understand that, and yet we still do it. Kyle still doesn't believe it. Don't believe it. Celia suggests via text message, I would hang large posters in cities and towns showing exactly what could happen to you if you eat refined white sugar and salt and saturated fats. Same with cigarettes. Well, Celia, if you're worried about the impact that eating burgers kills on the outside of food packaging might have on little Timmy, I'm not sure what effect any huge posters of the insides of someone who's died because of a heart attack might have on him. It might be slightly disturbing.
Turn left.
Nonetheless, an innovative policy idea. We support public health messaging on this programme, there's no doubt about that. Might be a little bit extreme though. No name on this one via WhatsApp. Hi, good morning to you. These days computers are used a lot, and the way these adverts, i.e. kebab shops and chip shops, it's all thrown into your site via computers. People are falsely fed these food sources via the internet. This is what's causing the obesity race. And I only have a smartphone, but I've never had a PC. A lot of you mentioning the advertising, which I wasn't necessarily expecting. Maybe I'm wrong on this. And obviously there are entire marketing departments who disagree. There are entire businesses who make money from creating advertising. But I've always felt that adverts don't really work. When an ad break comes on, I've got to switch on. When I browse the internet, because I've grown up on the internet, I don't look at the ads. You very quickly pick up the kind of vocabulary, the lexicon, the grammar of the website, and you understand how there'll be an advertisement there. Don't read that other font, it's slightly different. Don't read that one. Don't watch the video that's going to autoplay because the first 30 seconds of it are going to be an advert. I'm sceptical about whether advertising actually
as much of an impact. I mean, clearly businesses feel different because they spend millions of pounds doing it. I wasn't expecting so many retail. Do join the conversation about food production and food systems, what we get wrong, and whether or not measures like sugar and salt taxes or health warnings on food packaging really are just an example of sticking plastic politics. 03456060973 is the number to call if you do want to join the conversation. But the time is 4:30 and that means it is time for news headlines. Tim Day.
The Department for Work and Pensions says it's received more than 38,000 claims for pension credits since the government's winter fuel announcement. This morning, the SNP is claiming more than 850,000 Scottish pensioners will lose out. The Prime Minister's travelling to Dublin later for his first official visit to the Republic of Ireland since the general election. Keir Starmer's due to meet the country's Taoiseach Simon Harris. It's also been announced he'll meet President Biden on Friday. And the former Republican Vice President, Dick Cheney, says he'll be voting for Kamala Harris in November. He's issued a statement saying Donald Trump can never be trusted with power again. LBC weather, wet for southwestern areas later on today, mainly dry for the rest of the UK with sunny spells in the northwest and a high of 24 degrees.
LBC.
You know, Kayak isn't just another flight comparison app. When you download the Kayak app, you download Flight Enlightenment. With Kayak, you see things others can't, like the latest great deals from both airlines and booking sites. You can filter your searches and set up price alerts so you're not now.
Oh, sorry.
So you're notified when there's a price drop on the flights you want. See more, do more, save more with Kayak. You can do the gong now. Download the Kayak app today and go see for yourself.
Running a successful business comes with many different challenges, but right now the need for good business advice is more important than ever. At Barnes Roth Accountants, we're helping our clients adapt their business strategies by looking at the best ways to build resilience in an ever-changing world. To arrange a free consultation with one of our partners and find out how we can support you and your business, visit barnesroth.com. Barnes Roth, clever accountants for business.
We all crave more freedom for adventures, more room for tools, more comfort for long drives. Whether you're conquering mountains or everyday life, more is, well, more. At the Volkswagen Commercial Vehicle Stock Sales event this September, you can get more with an extra £750 off new stock vans, including the hard-working Transporter 6.1 and the adventurous California camper van. Discover more at Volkswagen-vans.co.uk/sale. UK retail customers 18+. Discount applies to on-the-road or manufacturer's direct price of new stock vehicles only.
Oke, karena pengirimannya sudah sampai, jadi kita sudahi dulu. Kita cari penginapan dulu ya.
A couple of your text messages on the point about death. I told you, death and taxes. What a morning. Ian in Surbiton. Hi Ollie, as I'm 70, maybe I view being 80 differently from you and the youngsters in the control room. I suspect perhaps you do. Nothing like immediacy to sharpen the focus. Sarah in Bristol via WhatsApp. Hi Ollie, great point Ari, our disconnection with death. Why are we now passing instead of dying? It so irritates me that we can't even say the word death. We are in such unhealthy denial. Yeah, I think people, it's easier to look away.
Turn right.
Than accept. And Anne via WhatsApp. Ollie, the trouble is these things are addictive, so once they catch you, you're stuffed. We have no choice. Advertising catches you. Addiction keeps you. Points about advertising is effective. Okay. We've got a duo of callers splitting Wales in North and South. We've got Mike in Bridgend in South Wales. Hi Mike.
Hello, how's it going, Mike?
Yes, very well, thank you, mate. And we've got Aldo in Bangor in North Wales as well. Hi Aldo.
Hello.
Hi, yes, very well, thank you, my friend. Let's start with you, Mike, then. What do you reckon we get wrong about food production?
Well, I'm listening to kind of like you saying there's ills with regards to global food production, which is like 100%, no doubt about that.
Get ready to turn
and
right.
that's driven by like corporations, etc. But then on the flip side, when it comes to like advertising and supermarkets and that kind of thing, and restrictions, you seem to be saying
Here we are.
not to do that. Because is that right? Do you think there shouldn't be restrictions or warnings on food?
Well, to be honest with you, I kind of ducked the entire question because what I've done was sort of scope out and say I think it's You're sticking a band-aid on an amputated limb. It's a drop in the ocean. It's but one grain in the grain silo, because it's all very well and good putting the warning on, I don't know, the ready meal, but at the end of the day, as long as we're mass producing food in the way we are, as long as we're shipping it from abroad in the way that we are, that you're not really going to address the deep problem, which for me, I think, can be solved by localized agriculture. Agrarian localism is kind of my argument.
Yeah, I think you'd have to do both kind of things. I think if you just look at the way fast food chains, if you look at the way they target places like Mexico and certain soft drink manufacturers, when they see the market's failing because of like more awareness, those companies, just like cigarette companies, pivot to areas where there's not that awareness and there's not that concern. And so I just fundamentally think that, I don't know, I just think when you look back in the day, years and years ago, in I think the 70s, there was research done into hot dogs, and basically about children eating hot dogs. There was a large-scale study done, and they determined that children who ate hot dogs had a higher incidence of quite a few types of cancer, including stomach cancer. And that was in the 70s. And then what happened was that research was essentially buried, and it was advertising was used as a way of kind of like wiping out any concerns regarding that. Basically, there was a known product which causes cancer in children, and then it was still aggressively marketed as a way to counteract that bad report, and that bad report was like.
Oke, karena pengiriman pertama udah beres, kita istirahat dulu di hotel dan kita sudahi dulu live streaming hari ini. Terima kasih bagi yang sudah menonton dan yang sudah subscribe channel ini. Terima kasih banyak. Nanti saya akan live streaming lagi main Dota ya setelah ini. Oke, kalau begitu saya Yudi pamit undur diri dulu. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dadah.